So this is it, finally, the start of my 3-day trip from Dover down to Dorset. Obligatory revs. So there's 3 of us starting from Dover, and we're meeting up with another guy about 3/4 of the way there in Alton in Hampshire. The guy I used to work with when I lived down that way. I don't know how much you can see from the camera, but this tank bag is bloody huge. Can't even see my dash.
So we started the day at 6 o'clock. We were up and on the bikes by 7, and from there we were heading down from Dover going towards Folkestone. We're then going to follow the A20 up towards Ashford before heading back down south towards Rye, and then from Rye we were going across to Hastings before moving on to Devil's Dyke just north of Brighton.
So this is Hastings. It's a very nice little seaside town actually. It's got lots of arcades, lots of little fun things. Sure, there's a crazy golf somewhere. Yeah, so that's a good crazy golf. I know there's some cable cars or something somewhere to go up the top of the cliffs. I can't remember what's up there. I'm sure I did it years and years ago with my parents. Oh, nice Triumph. Is that a street triple or a speed triple? Either way, they are both lovely bikes. All of these houses, which are probably flats actually and apartments now, they will be worth an absolute fortune just because they're looking over the sea. Very nice houses along here. I do like the Tudor exterior look, the black bars or stripes on them. Nice traditional look.
I explain why I talk so much about houses later on in the video, so you just have to bear with me for now. But anyway, we took the A259 all the way into Eastbourne, and this is where we continue.
I have never been to Eastbourne before. For those of you that have never been to England before, this beach on your left is a very typical British beach, complete with stones. Despite that, people still go to them all the time. A little bit cold now. The sea is never warm in the UK. We thought the flats and apartments in Hastings were a lot. These will be on a whole other level. And then when we get to Brighton, again, even more expensive. It's quite nice around here, which is obviously why it costs so much money. Oh, bloody potholes. Whoa. Now, what is that place? Could not see what that one was. Okay, it is not warm enough to be off for a walk with no top on. Sorry, I do quite often comment on buildings. When I was at school, I always wanted to be an architect. I love buildings, and I still do. But unfortunately, I failed miserably at my A-levels, which again, outside the UK, that's what you take in your 6th form. Basically, you need to do 4 subjects in lower 6th at 17, and then you do 3 usually at 18. The idea is you do the 3 you got the best results in. But for me, I ended up getting 2 U's, so ungraded, so shit that why bother. So when I was 16, I took French business studies, product design and IT. And I got a U in French and business studies, and I think I got a D and an E, or a C and a D, or something like that in the other 2. But yeah, because I got 2 U's, neither of those 2 teachers would let me continue doing the subject. To be honest, I must have been crap at it clearly because I got 2 U's in it. So yes, the 2 teachers didn't let me continue with French or business studies, which wasn't a massive problem. Where the hell are we going? And actually it meant I had a fantastic time in my last year of school. Oh, taking this scenery for a second, look at this. But unfortunately, as a result of only doing 2 subjects for my last year of school, I was never going to be able to get the results I needed to go to university, and therefore I was never going to be able to do architecture. It also doesn't help that you actually have to be quite clever to do architecture. I think going to just the university near to me, I needed to get like 2 B's and a C, I think, and I was never going to do that.
So we have made it to the first stop. We've actually stopped a little bit earlier than we were hoping. We are at Beachy Head, I think it was. Not somewhere we were meant to go to, but still just as nice. Give you a quick view. Lots of water. The bikes. So now that's the first stop done, legs stretched. I think we're going to go off and get to Devil's Dyke. See you in a little bit. So at this point I'm going about 60 miles an hour, and I've just realised that this next turning is the one I need, which is why I do this.
Oh, I nearly missed it. Not what I was expecting. Well, I think this is it. So it's more of a walking spot.
So it turns out this wasn't actually the right spot. We needed to go about another 1.5 miles down the road, and it was only once we had taken our jackets off, started getting our food out, that Lee had told us that we were in the wrong spot. That said, the images we should have got would have been closer to this. And we got this. But they were still nice. It was still overlooking the same area. There just wasn't as much to see from where we were compared to the main spot further along the road. So once we had finished up at Devil's Dyke, we were then heading towards Loomies. We were going up towards Petersfield and then along to Loomies Motor Cafe. That's where we were going to be meeting up with Lee. And on the way we saw some pretty cool old buildings.
Look at that for a castle. What, manor house? It's got turrets. Cool, look at that. Is that a cathedral as well? Now this is another fine British city. If it's got a cathedral, it should be a city, and that looks pretty cathedral-esque in its design. That's huge. Yeah, it's got to be a castle. There's walls around it. So now we have left Devil's Dyke. Well, we left it a while ago. We are en route to Chichester, and from there we'll be going up towards Loomies Motor Cafe, which is Alton. We appear to be taking a slight detour. Standard Mr. Turning, take the next one. Maybe it's not quite as good as the first one that we should have taken, but it's more fun. Yeah, way more fun. It is odd. I find the bike responds so much better when you're really giving it some. Like, gear changes are much better. Everything is just like it wants you to go quick. Turns out having a tank bag that looks like a tank on its own is very comfortable to lean on, especially when you want to just get your head down and get the miles done. I'm not quite sure where we are. I know we've gone past Chichester now, and we're on the way towards Petersfield. I imagine it would be an A road, but whatever this one is, it is very nice and very fun to ride. Just if you're ever down this way in Hampshire. This is an amazing road. I wish I knew it.
So once we got to Loomies, we didn't really stay for too long. It was just enough to have a quick catch up with Lee, have a quick bite to eat and a drink, stretch your legs, and the only other thing we did was connect up the headsets. So Lee brought down a spare Sena 20S headset, which would allow all four of us to chat on the route. And that's why from now on there isn't really much talking, because I'm basically having a conversation with the other guys and you can't really hear what they're saying, so it just makes it a bit pointless. So once we left Louis Motorcafe en route to the final destination of Weymouth for our hotel, we actually came into quite a bit of traffic. So the traffic we were in was actually due to a motorbike crash, and it did look pretty bad. Nothing horrific, it didn't look like the guy had died or anything, so hopefully he's all right. But it certainly makes you think about things when you're riding on your bike, filtering through, as we were. Could have been literally just a car coming out, getting the back of him, or going into it, and that's it. So it did make me think twice about filtering at speeds. So because of the one-way system around Weymouth, it actually took us about 10 minutes just to get our bikes parked up in the right spaces. We basically had to go around the back of our hotel, but you can only go down it one way. But to get to that road you had to go down it a certain way, so it was just the right pain in the arse, but we did get there in the end. So for Saturday I thought I'd try and shoot a nice little intro for the morning. Basically we just had breakfast and went for a walk around the town, but it was a nice little start to the day. So once we were all sorted, we took a nice slow ride down to the Isle of Portland, which is about 10-15 minutes from the hotel. We basically had to climb right to the top through the town up to the cliff, and we had some fantastic views from up there. It was definitely worth it. If any of you are down that area, it's a place that's worth going to, just to get those views from the top of that cliff. So from here we then took a nice casual ride heading towards the Jurassic coastline. We just wanted to follow it along just to get some more nice scenery shots. And we came across one road that was really bumpy. I think there was actually a bridge involved in this, and I came right out of my seat as we were going over it. It was good fun, slightly dangerous, but it was definitely worth the fun. So we then came to a nice spot where there's a small little cafe there, your typical greasy spoon with bad food that tastes so good, and we're just taking some more of the views. So once we'd eaten, the plan was to go and find a town called Beer. Now I have no idea what the obsession was with the other three guys that I was with, but they were so keen to find the Welcome to Beer sign. Took us about half an hour, but we did find it eventually, and this was the picture that we got. So the picture came out pretty good, but I'm not sure it was quite worth the 30 minutes that we spent searching for this sign. It was much harder than it should have been to find. So once we'd found the Welcome to Beer sign, we were then heading to our final destination of Durdle Door. Now this is a very well-known spot. It's not somewhere that I've ever been before. Lee has, and he was the one that sort of recommended we should go to this area, and it was very nice. So we started walking down there in our full bike gear. Obviously we didn't have any storage, so we couldn't leave anything up at the bikes. And it was a great walk down, some lovely sights, lovely spots to just stop and take it all in. So once we'd seen it all, we then obviously had to make the lovely trip back up this hill, and once we got back to the bikes we were just knackered. We were literally resting for about 10-15 minutes before we then headed off for dinner. So on day 3, the final day, we went from the hotel to Portsdown Hill in Portsmouth. That was where we said goodbye to Lee, and to be honest I was recording that whole journey. It was such a boring journey, nothing really happened on it. We all just had our heads down. We just wanted to get the miles done and get back home. So once we got to Portsdown Hill, we took a few little shots there, had a quick break and just got back on the bikes. So once we left Portsdown Hill, my camera basically died and I didn't record any footage back. It was a pretty boring trip. Again, heads were down, we just wanted to get home. We stopped at McDonald's for lunch and then we just got on with it. All made it back safe and sound, all absolutely knackered, in so much pain, way more than I was expecting. My head was hurting, my legs, everything just was in pain. That said, we are planning another trip for next year. We're talking about going across to Europe, sort of sticking close to England still, going towards Brussels or Bruges, maybe even going up towards the Netherlands because there's a British Superbikes race there, but we'll just see how that comes along. Feel free to comment down below if you'd like to know anything else about this trip, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.